radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Wednesday, March 11th, 2020. 71 days into the new year, only 295 days left. We are live from a bunker that is somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Crazy day today. I get all of that. But tonight, very special guest, Dr. Diana Pasulka is here. Full night of aliens in religion, aliens in science, aliens in consciousness. That's right. Oh, man, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. So get ready for that. Tomorrow is another Fader night with open lines all night long. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. You can come and join us there. The conversation is already kicking off. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox on Twitter. Okay? Any questions or comments during the show? Hashtag F2BQ. Okay? I am looking here. 2222. Okay. I'll get to that. I'm watching Twitter. Twitter's crazy. Hashtag F2B on Twitter right there. All right. Any questions or comments during the show tonight? Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Now we know there is a lot of breaking news. Okay, so I am going to get as much of it as I can in because there's a lot going on. So here we go. The outbreak of the novel coronavirus has officially been declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization. That happened earlier today. Just before showtime tonight, President Trump appeared on national television and announced a 30-day travel ban for all of Europe, excluding the United Kingdom. And this starts on Friday. Also, right before showtime a few minutes ago, the NBA, the National Basketball Association, has canceled the rest of their season following tonight's games. And all of this was announced after a Utah Jazz player tested positive for COVID-19. Also, right before the show tonight, again, breaking news, actor Tom Hanks says that he and his wife, actress Rita Wilson, have been diagnosed with coronavirus while traveling in Australia. He did this via Twitter a few minutes ago. Oh, man, crazy. And it's going to get crazier. 24 states have declared a state of emergency due to coronavirus. Louisiana, Arizona, New Mexico, and Arkansas all announced emergency status today, following Michigan, Vermont, North Carolina, Massachusetts, Colorado, Ohio, Illinois, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Oregon, New York, Pennsylvania, Utah, Kentucky, Indiana, Hawaii, Maryland, California, Florida, and, of course, Washington. The NC2A March Madness tournament games to be held without spectators due to the coronavirus. That was announced today. Also announced today, Italy says that all stores and venues except pharmacies and food markets will be closed in response to the country's virus outbreak and jump of 2,313 cases in the last 24 hours. The Department of Homeland Security says that U.S. travel restrictions to Europe are under discussion. Washington declares a state of emergency over coronavirus concerns, and tours of the U.S. Capitol will be halted for the coming weeks. More than 1,162 cases of coronavirus are now confirmed in the United States, and all U.S. State Department employees are suspended from non-essential travel due to coronavirus. CBS, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Last week Tonight with John Oliver, and The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon are pulling their audiences because of concern about the coronavirus outbreak. NBC will be suspending live audience for The Today Show, and Today with Hoda and Jenna and Friends beginning tomorrow. Joe Biden's campaign rallies in Chicago and Miami will now be virtual events. Austria is to close schools because of coronavirus fears. Dallas cancels its St. Patrick's Day parade. U.S. stocks sold off sharply today, with the Dow falling into a bear market, defined as 20% below its most recent high. The Dow finished today down 1,465 points, or 5.9% lower. Seattle Public Schools will now close for at least 14 days. India suspends all tourist visas due to the coronavirus. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo canceled while coronavirus spreads across Texas. NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, canceled its April conference in Las Vegas. And Frankfurt Music Messe, the largest music retail show in the world outside of NAMM, has postponed due to COVID-19 concerns, and the New York Auto Show has also been postponed. It was also just announced a few minutes ago, and I got the news flash on this, that President Trump has just canceled his trips to Colorado and Nevada. All right, now here are the real coronavirus numbers. Right before showtime tonight, as of 8 minutes ago, coronavirus cases worldwide, the number is 126,264. Deaths worldwide, 4,633. Recovered, 68,286. So the real numbers are, there are 53,345 active cases worldwide, and 5,709 are considered serious or critical. 47,636 cases of the 53 are considered mild conditions. I do want to note one thing, that the expansion of the virus, which seems very quick, that just a couple of weeks ago here in the United States we had 15 cases, and today now it's well past 1,000, and it went up very quickly. And the very same thing happened in Italy, the very same things happened in Spain and in France and in Iran. The situation in China seems to, if we are to believe the numbers coming out of China, seems to have leveled off and almost stopped. It's almost stopped. Now, is this in response to the way that China has handled it, which is great, or has the virus just stopped spreading on its own? We won't know that for a while. Okay, all right. So with all of that, and I'm going to make some comments here in just a bit. Let's get the show cracking. Okay, all right. Happy birthday to today. Golden earring guitarist George Cummins is 72 years old. He wrote their number one hit single, Twilight Zone. Our dead guy's birthday today is Vinnie Paul. 1964 to 2018, died at the age of 54. Of course, he was the drummer and co-founder of Pantera. He was a member of Hell Yeah for 12 years, from 2006 until his death in 2018. He also co-founded the heavy metal band Damage Plan in 2003 with his younger brother, one of my favorites, Dimebag Darrell. On June 22nd, 2018, Abbott died in Las Vegas at his home at the age of 54 from coronary artery disease. 5 days before his death, his final performance took place at the Vinyl at the Hard Rock Hotel and Resort in Las Vegas. On this day in history, OTD, 1997, Paul McCartney is knighted by Queen Elizabeth II for his services to music. Fader fact. In 2005, now I want you to listen to this closely. In 2005, NASA scientists successfully revived bacteria that had been in a frozen pond in Alaska for 32,000 years. Once the ice melted in their laboratory, the bacteria began swimming, acting normal, unaffected, and then quickly became an infectious Pandora virus. That's right. And that is your Fader fact. And I know all of you just leaned forward and said, what? What did Jimmy just say? Well, I said it. There you go. Tonight, very special guest, Dr. Diana Pasulka is here. It's going to be a great night. Been anticipating this show for quite a long time. And yes, we are going to discuss aliens. We're going to discuss aliens in religion. We're going to discuss science. We're going to discuss aliens in science and consciousness and aliens in consciousness. We're going to do all of that tonight. Tomorrow night is Fader Night with open lines all night long. The call-in number is 747-228-2051. Not for tonight. That's for tomorrow night. Okay, let me hit this River Moon coffee. Unreal. rivermooncoffee.com. That's what you want to do. rivermooncoffee.com. All right. Fade to Black Blend. F2B Blend. F2B Blend is the promo code. That's F2B Blend. F2B Blend. Use that promo code, 15% off of your order today. It is the best coffee in the world. Okay, well, here's the deal. Here's the question. Here's the question that is on everybody's mind. So, what do we do? Today it was a bit harsh because I'm reading the news just like everybody else is. And we know that something is going on out there. When you can't see it, you know, more than likely, especially if you're listening to this show right now, you don't have coronavirus. You don't know anybody that does, but you're hearing these reports, and the reports are pretty scary. And yes, it is 100% fear-driven. President comes on TV tonight and announces a travel ban between the United States and all of Europe. Okay, that's some holy crap stuff. There's no question about it. Okay, I get it. I would like to see. I would like to see something a little bit more controlled here in the United States. Maybe we should just do a clampdown on everything to slow. Not stop going to work or stop doing things, but just maybe public gatherings are just not a good idea. Just not a good idea. And if you are going to have a public gathering at this point, and I'm talking about, we're in the middle of a campaign season, right? And you're going to have a campaign rally right now. I think that is pretty stupid. That's ego-driven. If you're going to have a concert, that's ego-driven. If you're going to have a basketball game or a tournament, that kind of stuff, we don't need that. All of it, and this is the big winner of all of this, is radio and television. Okay? That's the big winner here. We're going to be spending a lot of time at home and with our friends and with our family and doing the things that we should be doing, like maybe cleaning your house, right? Washing your hands more often, taking a couple of showers a day, dusting the house a little bit more. I know that I have to do all of these things. And we're going to have a cleaner country, right? Things are going to smell better. And I'm not making fun of this. I'm not making light of this. I'm merely stating the obvious. So the big winners out of this is going to be radio and television and programs like this. People are going to be spending more time at home, and they're going to be watching television. They're going to be watching sporting events on TV instead of going to the sporting event. Instead of going to the movie theater, you're going to be watching movies at home with the family. Maybe you should have been doing that anyway in the first place, right? Instead of going out to restaurants as often, order in. Keep the restaurants running. Order takeout, all right? Order delivery. Cook at home. When was the last time you cooked at home, right? That if you look at it in these terms, in this way, it's not that bad of a deal, right? It's not that bad. My advice is the same as any doctor will tell you. Stay at home as much as you can. Wash your hands. Stay clean. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I should have been doing all of that stuff anyway. And do you need to prepare? Do you need to have a case of toilet paper? I'm going to say this. You should have a case of toilet paper already in your house. It keeps you from shopping more often. I know that we do. Okay? I shop at Costco, so I've always got too much stuff. Everything comes in jumbo sizes, right? So, we're okay. We're not perfect. I'm saying we're not perfectly set up, but we're okay if the stuff hits the fan tomorrow. We'll make it through. Got a couple of cases of Mexican Coke. I'll make it out the other side, right? And really, that's the truth. It's not the virus that scares me. And I just don't think any of the listeners of the show are going to get coronavirus. I just don't think that'll happen. I'm not saying it's bad, because it is bad. There is, I understand that there is a virus going around, and in some cases, it is a very, very serious situation. But here, in the United States, it's a big country, and right now, I think we're going to be okay. We're going to get through it. It's not the virus that scares me. It's the economic impact that is going to happen to everyone. Okay? There are some sectors of this country that are going to do great, believe it or not, like radio and television. Netflix and Amazon are going to come out on the other side of this. I know that what we do here, and this is the truth, I don't want anybody here to panic or to freak out, because if I freak out, and this is what I tell Rita all the time, if I freak out, Rita, if you see me freak out, that's when you freak out. But I'm not freaking out. If you see me freak out, if I come on the air freaking out, then all of you wonderful listeners to the show, you guys got a reason to panic. But until that happens, right? And Rita knows. Rita, trust me, everyone. Okay? And this is something that I can't say any more serious. Rita knows. Rita knows me. And she knows if I'm just telling her, you know what? Okay, right. Wow, I'm not in panic mode yet. It calms her down because she knows. Because there are times where I have freaked out. We've had a reason to freak out for whatever it could be, right? But if she sees me freak out, then she freaks out. But she will always calm down. So just take my advice on this. If I'm not freaking out, you have no reason to freak out. Okay? All right? And that's my take on all of this. The economy and the statements that I have made this week, the column that I wrote for The Telepath, and I encourage all of you to go and read that. I read a portion of that on the show last night, and a little bit also because I was getting my thoughts out on Monday night. But my position is as follows. The media and this government did not handle things correctly. And the panic and the fear that they laid out there wasn't the real truth. They didn't speak the truth. And because they didn't speak the truth and they wanted this panic, and they want the panic and the fear because they want viewers to their network, and they want clicks, and they want advertising, and and the longer they can drag some sensational story out, no matter what it is, it could be politics, it could be the weather, it could be hurricanes, it could be fires. It doesn't matter. Exploding car tires. It just doesn't matter. As long as they can keep the fear news out there, they get the clicks. And they want to milk every story as long as they can. So now they've got this coronavirus story. And what a perfect storm for the media. Well, they took it too far. And they could have at any point, and I want everybody to listen to what I am saying. They could have, at any point, stopped the panic, stopped the fear. The CDC could have handled things in a very low-key way and locked this stuff down. Didn't do it. The proper screenings weren't done. The testing kits weren't there. Completely unprepared. Right now, we are unprepared. But they could have handled it differently, and the media caused this. And by milking the story for as long as they did and how they did it, that caused the markets to crash. The banks didn't cause the markets to crash. There wasn't some mortgage crisis. There wasn't anything. No, that's not what we are dealing with here. We're dealing with the media and their fear porn. So that caused the markets to crash, which affected the airline industry. Everything after that was in panic mode. Everything. And this has trickled down. And I'm talking about right now, today, right now, 25% of students in the world can't go to school. It's like, media, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? And the economic side of this, I'm talking about movie theaters and transportation and restaurants, schools, everything that is affected. There is a support system that comes into that. Okay? And to give you an example, the New York Auto Show was canceled today. The New York Auto Show, with all of the employees that support that show at the convention center at Javits, is $330 million into the local economy. And it's gone. And that's just one little example. You know, I can go on with the NBA or Coachella, the NAB conference, the National Association of Broadcasters. I attended that conference every year, right? And it's canceled in Las Vegas. All of the hotels, all of the support, all of the food and beverage and things and the spending and the gambling, all of that stuff that goes on, it's gone. We need to think about that for a second. The media needs to be more responsible. And that's what caused this. It's not the impact of coronavirus. It's not. And I'm talking about right now, today, the status, the numbers today. I don't know what's going to happen in 3 or 4 months. I certainly don't have those answers. Could it be and blow up to this huge thing? Well, it didn't in China. It got to 80,000 and it seemed to stop. Right? So I'm expecting the same thing here. And the other part is, I've got to get this in, is that we're heading into the warmer months now. And the flu season is going to be over. Is this virus going to take the same track as the flu? And I understand it is not the flu, but could it do that? Well, that's the part that the media doesn't report. The media is not reporting it stopped in China, stopped at 80,000, right? I just don't get it. I really don't. The media caused all of this. I'm ashamed. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Everybody, just calm down. Everybody, just look. I don't like to see my wife's face going, oh man, I don't want to see that. And the media is causing this. So there you go. All right. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka. Just kick back tonight, enjoy yourself, and like I said, the one winner from all of this is Amazon, right? Netflix, cable television, and Fade to Black. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka joins us. Tomorrow night is another Fader night. Open lines all night long. Truly one of the great nights in all of radio. Tomorrow night, Fader night. Open lines all night long. Now, you guys have been waiting for this show for quite a while. Tonight, it is happening. Tonight, our guest is Dr. Diana Pasulka, and our focus will be on UFOs, science, religion, and consciousness. Dr. Pasulka is a professor of religious studies and the chair of the Department of Philosophy and Religion at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Her research centers on the emergence of contemporary religiosity. Oh, man, there you go. With the context of digital and technological infrastructure and Catholic history. She is the author of numerous books and articles, including her most recent book, American Cosmic. I am holding it up to the cameras right there. You can see it. I have it in hardcover. And yes, American Cosmic, UFOs, Religion, and Technology. And she has conducted research at the Archivio Segreto at the Vatican Secret Archives, and Specola Vaticana, the Vatican Space Observatory, and is currently the head of a manuscript translation project of the canonization of records of St. Joseph. And I'm actually, I've lost my screen right in front of me. So I will just say this as I bring that back. I'd like to welcome to Fade to Black, Dr. Diana Pasulka. Doctor, you know, this is what is great about live radio. You just never know when the gremlins are going to come in. But welcome. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Can you hear me well?
I've got you. Are great.
Okay, great.
You sound like you're right here, which is the point. It is the point. Now, before we get started, you get Diana the first time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way. Which is, Diana, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, it ends. But we're gonna end as friends. There you go. You ready?
I like that. Yeah.
Did you get nervous?
No.
Okay.
Was I supposed to?
Okay. First off, let's start here. I do not have coronavirus.
Okay. Cool.
How you doing?
So I don't have it either, and my university just sent all of our students home, and so we are going to conduct our courses online from here on out until we figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, and we're not going to spend any time on coronavirus tonight. We could spend the whole show on that, and I'm not going to do that. But Yeah, we have two daughters. One just graduated college. The other is still in college, and she was informed today that she will start taking classes at home.
Wow.
So yeah, and I'm okay. When I got the text today about it, my response was, it was one word from Dad: expected. Right? I mean, I expected it, and I'm glad. I am glad. I am glad.
Me too.
All right, let's actually start here. Let's get one thing out of the way. Last month, or maybe it was 2 months ago, a series of posts and tweets went around about you and about your email or your Twitter account, or various things were hacked, and some statements were made that apparently you didn't do. What happened with that? Can we clear that up?
Yeah. So in order to explain that situation, we have to go back in 2000, just after Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal's 2017 article in the New York Times came out.
Right.
I received a series of emails from somebody that were actually started out really nice and then became a barrage of really pretty weird emails with.
And there you go.
The CC, yeah. And
okay,
so I knew it was weird.
Hold on, Diana. You actually dropped out. Okay.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was strange. Okay. So actually, I need you to repeat what you said. You said back, Leslie Kean, you received a series of emails that started out cool, and then
got very nasty and somewhat threatening. And I have a friend, Gary Nolan, probably the audience is familiar with him.
Sure.
And he and I are buddies. And so he had the same thing. We both had it. So sometimes they had us both on the CC. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes it was just me. Sometimes it was just him. And this lasted for about a month and a half. And we both coordinated our efforts, Stanford University and my university. And what I did was, it was on my university email and my university computer. So basically what I did was I reported it. We have a couple of different ways of doing this, because, a lot of times we get this from students that are unstable. And so I reported it to first our police. We have university police, not the local police, just the university police. Then I reported it to, we have IT police. So the IT people, and also my general counsel, who I know well and is really nice. And I said, I'm really afraid they're going to do something weird, like put something on my computer. They went through my computer, cleaned it up, and then they said, we don't want to tell you everything because it's going to freak you out. So we're just going to put really intense anti-malware stuff on your computer that most professors do not get. So they went through my computer, this is my university computer, and they did that. So there's a signature to this type of thing. So, okay, fast forward to January, and I can't exactly remember the date that it happened, but I'm on Twitter. I go back to Twitter. The reason I got off of social media in the first place was because Tyler, who is a character in my book, basically told me that get off social media. And he wouldn't really tell me why, but he just said, you have to get off of it. And of course I was like, I will get off of it. So I did. I got off of it. And then, like an idiot, I went back on it. And so, it's like it's part of our lives now. So I thought, I can't necessarily write books and not be on social media. Excuse me, I had to take a little drink of water.
Sure.
And so so what happened on that particular weekend when that happened was I had received the hack. I know this hacker, okay? I received an email from this hacker. This hacker uses different names, but you can tell who it is because as a professor, I'm a professor of religion, and not only that, but I'm confronted with people's writing styles all the time. So I know who this person is. So this person sends me 2 weeks before the hacking, sends me a nice email, super nice.
Okay.
And so on the Friday it happened, I think it was like January 9th or 10th or something like that. So on the Friday that it happened, I was actually not even at my computer. I was in the hospital with my son. And he had broke his, he's 13 and he was playing basketball and basically dislocated his kneecap. So we were there and we were there for a long time. And so it took a long time to get home. And then I had to tend to him because he couldn't walk. And so I started to get texts from people telling me, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm hanging out with my son. And so somebody said, I don't know, your Twitter account is acting really weird. So I went in and I looked and I couldn't believe what I saw. And it was traumatizing. So, and I was traumatized the first time it happened too in 2000.
Oh, you're cutting out again. Diana, you're cutting out. Are you hitting mute on your microphone?
I don't think so. Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah. It does. It is muting, and I'm not seeing a break in the transmission, so I think it's something on your end. Try not to move around. Okay, so let's go back to so that you're in the hospital. You're getting these strange texts that are saying, "What are you up to?"
Yes. So I come home, I tend to my son, and I go on my account. Now I'm not even on my university account. Like since that happened a couple, 2 years ago or what.
Oh man. Okay. Okay, we've got some issues going on here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep talking, Diana. I am going to reset. So you just stay right there. I'm just going to reset. And I am going to yap instead of going to a commercial break. I am just going to do a quick reset here because there is something going on. And, okay, let's see. Diana.
Yes.
Okay. No, see, now you're loud. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay. So you get these strange texts that are saying, what are you up to? Okay. So what happens next?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I see, by that time I've had a day, right? So I'm really exhausted. And I say, okay, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to shut down my Twitter account. Prior to that, though, I got some really scary tweets the day before, and I reported them to Twitter. And they So I was able to shut down the Twitter account. And then what I did was I just went to bed. And the next day was Saturday. And on Saturday, I woke up and I was like, okay, I have to deal with this. So I talked to a couple of friends of mine. And I said, I'm going to release a statement because apparently, like I have a friend, Jacques Vallée. So Jacques said, well, Diana, you said some pretty choice things about the Vatican and this and that. And I mean, I would never do that. I work with the Vatican, right? I do a project. They allowed me to digitize documents that they never did allow anyone else to do before. So for very uncharacteristic and stupid so we just determined that it was that person again, and Jacques helped me through it. He said, this is what you have to do. You have to make a statement, and then you have to basically just drop it after that and stay off of Twitter, because Twitter's different than Facebook because they can create fake accounts that feed into and become you and feed into your accounts. So I don't know exactly how that happens, but I have a lot of friends who are techie friends who told me that they watched the whole thing happen. And so I thought it was probably good for me not to see what I had said.
Oh man.
I can tell that some of the things that, are you not listening?
Yeah, it's cutting out. And
oh no, this is terrible.
Yes.
Wait, should I try another way? Should I use another form of headphone?
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it.
Let me try it.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go to a commercial break while you do that. How's that?
Okay.
Let's do that. I'll take a commercial break here. We won't do it at the top of the hour. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Diana Pasulka. Sorry for the technical issues. It all sounded good during sound check. That's why we sound check. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant, give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Okay, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka. We're going to be discussing her new book. It is called American Cosmic. I'll hold it up for the cameras again. There it is. And we were talking about before the break, we tried to get it in, the hacking issues that occurred with your email and Twitter and such. And so right before the break, you said that you were getting texts and then you realized somebody was out there posting, and you spoke to Jacques Vallée about this. The posts that went out there, Diana, I didn't get to see all of them. They were deleted. The one that I remember was this comment about TTSA and the scientists that were leaving TTSA. That wasn't your tweet?
Oh, okay. So, no, that wasn't my tweet.
Oh, no.
There are scientists. I mean, the thing is that this person had access to a lot of private information that I would never talk about publicly, but that's the case. I mean, a lot of this stuff was the case, but I didn't look at this stuff because it was too traumatizing for me to see, oh my gosh, people think that I hate the Vatican or this or that. That is so not true. So with TTSA, Hal Puthoff still works there. It's an awesome organization, and yes, there are scientists who have left it, and I know them, and there are probably a lot of politics within that organization, just like any other organization. And those politics get played out on my email. I do have various emails that I'm threads on with various people like Jacques and other people. And, I'm sorry, but that's just what, we do say stuff like that. We do talk about that, but it's not for public consumption. So whoever did that made like a lot of what I was, said some things that were true, but not me, and some things that completely not true. There were some fake accounts even that were saying some pretty nasty things, and I'd rather not know about them, frankly, because why know about them when I didn't say them? So and this also happened on the weekend. So this happened on I put out a statement through various of my friends, and I said, this happened. I apologize to everyone who were offended by what this fake me said, and I don't blame you for being offended. From now on, if I do come back to Twitter, and when I come back to Twitter, it's going to be it's going to be a much different way. Let's put it that way. I probably won't. I won't be as engaged with it as I was before. And I'll have somebody monitoring it so that, as soon as something weird happens, a techie person, because I'm not a techie. I mean, I'm somewhat techie, but I'm not a techie person that knows that stuff about, how the algorithms, work. So that was on and so I made the statement that this is what I'm going to do. Or this is what I did. I think I even said this is what I did. But that's what I did in 2018. I went to my Chris Padgett, who's the head officer of University Police at where I work, and I did go to the IT people. This is all documented and true. However, I couldn't do that on a weekend. So by Sunday, I realized they won't do anything about it anyway, my university, because I wasn't using a university computer, and I was on a personal Twitter account, that has nothing to do with my university. So then I realized, oh, well, none of that's going to help anyway, so I'm just going to forget about it and just not be on Twitter. And so when then pushback came, about her work is not legitimate because she said these things. Well, first, it's true that I made those, I did report that stuff when it happened on my university property. They can't do anything about it when it's not on my university property and when it's over the weekend. So I was basically doing that as a private citizen, not as a professor at my university. We have to make that distinction. One thing that I want to say, and another thing I want to say is that it doesn't really bother me, frankly. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that actually happens in this day and age, and that's what my book is about. So I thought it was really ironic that it was happening to me when I was trying to warn people that this could happen in my book, and here it's happening to me. I'm like, well, I can't really get that upset about it because I predicted it.
Right, and going to the book, did you always have a general interest in UFOs and extraterrestrial life before you wrote the book and started your research?
No. So I was a person, now this is kind of interesting. I was a person who actually never thought about UFOs, even though there were a lot of weird things that happened in my life. So I have a relative who was when was it? This was actually just came out recently. He was chased by an orange orb on his bicycle, and he rode to our house. He threw his bicycle down. He was like 11, and he ran into the house and he yelled. And my parents came out, and now my parents are, my father's like an attorney, and my mother, they're just rationalist people, and they see it. And my father thinks, I'm going to call the police. So he calls the police. And of course they laugh at him and he gets incensed. But so I just didn't think about that when that happened, which is really odd. If you think about it, why wouldn't I think about that? I didn't. And so things like that would happen. And then I actually didn't make the connection to UFOs until I finished a book that I was writing on Catholic history, where I came up with a bunch of experiences that people had from like 1100 on up. And these are in archives. And they're original reports by European Catholics of, kind of like Wonders in the Sky that Jacques Vallée just did with Chris Albeck. So a friend of mine, basically, I didn't know how to think about those things. I didn't think of them as UFOs right off the bat, nor did I think that they had anything to do with UFOs. Excuse me. I don't have the coronavirus. But yeah, so that's what clued me in, was a friend of mine who read this. It took me about 10 years to write that one book. So I had quite a log of these very strange anecdotes and reports. And so I strangely attended a UFO conference. Chris Bledsoe was there, actually. And I heard him, and I heard a bunch of other experiencers tell their experiences. And I realized that the patterns were the same. So that's what got me into the research. And that happened in 2012. So I've been researching this topic since then.
The phenomenon itself, as we start to get into this, when you get into the community, this is going back to 2012, so that's 8 years ago. When you start to get into the community and you're listening to other people out there sharing their experiences, as somebody that is a professional educator and a researcher like yourself, what starts to go through your mind?
Okay.
Okay, this is
of shock for about a year.
Okay, Diana, I am going to reset. Yeah. I'm going to call you back on your cell phone. The dropouts are too much for the broadcast. Okay, so I'm going to call you back on your cell phone. Be ready to pick up, okay?
You got it.
Okay, I'm going to take another break right here, and I'm sorry, everybody, for the dropouts. This kind of stuff happens from time to time. But we have a system here. I'll be right back.
We listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka is with us, discussing her book, American Cosmic UFOs, Religion and Technology. And we started to get into the book right before the break, and why this sudden interest in UFOs and all things alien and ET. And you said it started to really take off in 2012 when you went to a UFO conference. What happened at the conference? You met Chris Bledsoe,
Yes.
And
can you hear me?
Yes. Now we got you. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. So yes. So I have to say that was a destabilizing weekend for me because I read 2 books. One was John Mack's abduction book, you know, and the other one was Jeff Kripal's The Authors of the Impossible, which has a great chapter on Jacques Vallée, who I had read him before, strangely enough, and heard of him. And then I went and visited this conference with Chris Bledsoe as one of the featured speakers. And then I saw this documentary on John Mack and the Experiencers, and I realized that everything I had been studying, basically historically, my whole life. I mean, I've been interested in religion since I was 11, so I know a lot about it. So I was like, wow, oh my goodness, this is mind blowing. So I was frankly in kind of a really destabilized state of mind, and I don't mean like crazy or anything. I was completely normal, but my whole world shifted in terms of what I'd been doing, what I'd been studying. And I would realize that the things so I went back and I reread a lot in their original sources, a lot of the, because Catholic history is my field, I went back and I reread a lot of the original sources, what happened to some of the people that we are now like doctors of the church, like Teresa of Avila or St. Francis, with the stigmata. And I began to see that these were all accompanied by what could have been a chapter in John Mack's book. We've got this little being, it's shiny, it does the kinds of things that happen in John Mack's book. And the person who most seemed to know about it historically was Jacques Vallée. So I read everything by him. I contacted him by hard mail, I just wrote him a letter. And we started to correspond, and then we met. And we started to work together because we were really kind of doing the same thing. I mean, he was looking at that point, he was writing Wonders in the Sky. And he was basically going back historically prior to the Industrial Revolution, where things wouldn't be, human-made things would not be in the sky. And so, he wanted to I think Jacques really wanted to show people that the phenomena has been around for a long time, and that, to just associate it with the 40s, because a lot of people do, especially academics, they say, oh, this is a Cold War theme, and it happens. And so I had to actually disagree with that and agree with Jacques Vallée. I thought he was doing really good religious studies work. He would hate me to say that, but it's true. And so I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually do this now. By that time, I was a full professor. I got tenure. I won a lot of research grants. I was already doing super, super well. So I felt like I was, pretty untouchable in terms of, if I decide to do this, it's a legitimate choice, and nobody can actually, I was the chair of the department. Who's going to tell me I can't do this? I was publishing with Oxford, which is the most prestigious academic press. So I felt fairly confident that I could really delve into this topic and do it justice.
And with that, and this is always an important question when we're dealing with somebody in your position, a 10-year professor on a career track that is solid, and once you get your tenure, you can then take the chances that you want to take personally and go into different areas of research. But, and there's always a but, even if that is the case, and it was for you, did you feel that you could openly discuss these subjects with your coworkers and the rest of the faculty? Or did you still kind of keep this stuff in the closet somewhat?
I have 2 really good friends at my university who I discussed it with. Actually, I stepped down as chair this year, and one of those friends is now chair. And he completely is fascinated by the topic. And so is my friend, Dr. George Zervos. He is a New Testament scholar, and he's Greek. He's fluent in the language of the New Testament, and he reads it. He reads the Syriac and the Greek and everything like that. And he's doing his own books on kind of like, I hate to use the word, but like ancient alien type things, because he also realized once I started doing this, he started doing it. He was like, oh my goodness, because of course, once you make the connection, what have you been writing about? You've been writing about these beings that come from the sky. They're shiny, and they generally scare the heck out of people, right? And they do weird things to people, and then people's lives are transformed, right? And so, I mean, we've got it all over. I think religious studies scholars don't want to hear this, right? Oh, actually, a lot of them have written to me and called me and said, thank you for doing this. Now I feel like I can do something like this. So I've gotten a really positive response. But, it's a fairly conservative field. And no, they're going to not like, so I'm not liked by a lot of people. So I'm not liked by a lot of people in my field. I'm not liked by a lot of ufologists and stuff like that. So I really don't fit anywhere. But I think that that's fine, because there has to be a new way to study this stuff. And I think that we have to, there's so much government intervention into the narrative of how people perceive this stuff. I mean, that's one of the basic themes of my book, was what you think you are seeing is most likely not what this phenomena is, right?
Well,
a lot of,
and let me actually jump in, because I don't want to let this thought go. I went through a period of my life that I think everybody goes through it when you're young, early 20s, 20, 21 years old, and you start to question everything around you. And I read the Bible twice in a summer, and I decided to read it like a novel. Okay, that was it. That was I just wanted to read it like that, like a story. And I ended it, and I flipped it over, started over, and read through it, King James. And the funny thing happened my second time through. I started to read the books and started to feel science fiction. And that's and I couldn't get away from that. And I said this, Diana, this was 35 years ago. And I mentioned it to a couple of my friends, and I resolved in my head. It was just like, man, communication from the sky, there's angels, insert aliens and ET and little grays and flying saucers. And then this book makes sense. And I was cool with it. Now, since then, many people have adopted this too as well. And I think that it's easy to make that transition and to interpret it in that way because of our own experiences today. We don't associate communication from the sky or beings, as angels. We look at that totally different. But 2,000 years ago, they wouldn't know what ET is. And maybe that's what was happening. And is that where you are today?
Kind of. I say we still don't know what ET is.
Fair enough.
Maybe like 100 years ago, they'll say, those people 100 years from now, those people in the future will look back on us and say the same thing that we're saying about the people who wrote the Bible, all the people who wrote the Bible.
Sure.
So yeah, we don't know, but we know it exists, and we know it's been around for a long time. And so I think that starting there and not denying it is probably a really progressive move, right? And saying, okay, people see these things, they've been around, they're winged beings. Pre-Christian, pre-Jewish, in the Egyptian pyramids, you see them all over the place. And you got to wonder, Carl Jung would say, that's an archetype. Well, what is an archetype then? It looks to be like a real darn thing. This looks like people are just making it up. So, because that's a lot of people who don't know each other making it up on other parts of the world. And they didn't have the internet back then, so they couldn't, text each other pictures and stuff and say, I'm doing this one on this cave. What are you doing? They were not going to do something like that. So, we've got to basically, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I know this right now is that there's a lot of portrayal of what is happening and what these things are and everything like that. But there's a lot of distraction, and that distraction is purposeful. And I think that's where we have to just beware of how we approach it, how we approach it. And also, I'm still doing the research. Like, the research is really still surprising me. I did write something about that was controversial on Twitter. That was basically, and this one is something I did write. It's not like my Twitter account was hacked the whole time. It wasn't. It was just hacked that one day, and then I shut it down. So I was legitimately talking as myself up to that point. And one of the things I noted was that I found that a lot of people that are well-known ufologists, that everybody knows who they are, happen to believe in angels and demons. So, that's weird. I thought it was weird, but I think I understand what they're trying to say is that angels and demons of the past are what we're dealing with now. There are good ones and bad ones. There are ones that scare the heck out of you and maybe fry you with radiation, and then there are some that give you these wonderful kinds of experiences.
What do we do with the big question about what, and there's two kinds of religions in the world, to me. There's the old religions, the established religions, and then we have the new stuff, right? The newer stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the older religions, the original religions, have been around for such a long time, acquiring knowledge. And in a lot of cases, back then, 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, 1,500 years ago, the members of those religions and the leaders, they were the only ones that could read and write. The rest of the world could not, right? So they're archiving, and they're sitting on archives. And the big question is, what does Jerusalem know? What does Israel know? What does the Vatican know? What do they have stored away? What is it that they are sitting on? Because they are taking this UFO subject very, very seriously. Even the names of the observatories and the telescopes of the Vatican, I mean, that I just raise an eyebrow. I'm like, okay, they're obviously onto something, and certainly because you laugh because you know exactly what I'm talking about. And, and the persecution that they brought down onto astronomers and scientists in the past, the stuff that they're talking about today is the stuff that they persecuted for. And killed people over and ended lives and careers and disrupted humanity. But now, today, they're okay with talking about alien life and baptizing ET and once they arrive, right? It's just like, wait a minute here. You can't have it both ways. What is it that the Vatican really knows?
Well, okay, so it depends on who you talk to at the Vatican. So I'm not a spokesperson for them, but I did spend, I do know Brother Guy Consolmagno, who's the director of the observatory, and they have a whole section. So I was allowed, he invited me to, there are quarters there for scholars. And so he invited me to stay at the quarters. And I actually took Tyler with me. Tyler is the rocket scientist, millionaire in my book. And so I took Tyler with me because we were supposed to look at the records of levitating saints and saints that bilocated, kind of saints that go up into the air. Because this is a common theme in abduction narratives. I was floated out into the air and stuff like that. So, it's like if they were floated back then, maybe we could learn something about how or why or, what's going on here. And so we went and we looked at that. And we looked at this case that I find fascinating, Maria of Agreda, a Spanish nun, who said she bilocated on the wings of angels to New Mexico, to the very areas where the alleged crash sites happened in the 40s. But she levitated there during the colonization of the New World by Spain. And she met indigenous Americans, and she told them about the Catholic Church, and she also warned them, priests are going to come, and they're going to, missionaries, and they're going to try to convert you and this and that. And so they were quite prepared when they came. Anyway, so, but to answer your question or your comment and talk about the issue, what does the Vatican know? Okay, so let's put it this way. I think the Vatican is, as far as my experience with them, is they're very different than the people who burned witches and, did the Inquisition and that kind of thing. They're actually interested in these topics. They have big telescopes, and they're looking at the skies. Now, what are they looking for? Well, I think they have a meteorite collection, so I think they're looking for meteorites and comets and things like that, things that might come and, strike the earth or something like that. And I think that they're open to anything, frankly. There's scientists at the Vatican Observatory, and scientists have to be open to what comes into their data universe, right? They have to, they're open to knowledge. So I don't view them as, I visited the secret archive, okay? And when I was there, there was one thing that they wouldn't show me. And I knew it existed because I had seen it referenced in a couple of other pretty old books, like books from the 1700s and the 1800s. And so I said to the priests that were there, they're speaking in Italian, and so we were having some issues. And so I said, no, I know this book is here. And the man looked at me and he said, this book might be here, but you will not see this book.
What book? What was the book? What was the book?
Oh, the book was basically records from Joseph of Cupertino, who is a pretty famous levitating saint in the Catholic Church. Like, there were basically hundreds and hundreds of this is during the Inquisition, too. So if you lied to the Catholic Church during the Inquisition, bad things would happen to you. So you've got testimonial after testimonial. I have it all. I wasn't supposed to, but I photographed them all on the, because you can't take these records out of the Vatican. You have to be in a special room and wear special gloves and stuff like that. And so they kind of watch you and everything. So, we've got this guy who's levitating and like flying all over the place. And basically, so it seems really interesting. So it was a data mission. It was a mission to gather as much data as we possibly could in a 2-week period of time. And we got a lot. We got a lot, more than we thought, actually.
Now, before we head to the break, and I want to stay on this subject, but you brought up Tyler, who is the subject, or partially, I should say, the subject of your book. He's certainly in the beginning, in the middle, and the end, right? Okay, so who is Tyler?
Okay, so Tyler is a person that actually I met through Chris Bledsoe. And so Tyler is a scientist, and he's been affiliated since he was 18 with the space program through NASA and then through various other organizations. He's a person who, I've never met a person like him before. He has improbable good luck, like improbable. And so there's something very different about him. He's highly charismatic. And he was a scientist. I know he had, let's put it this way, he's part of some of these communities, like, intelligence communities or whatnot. And so I didn't want anything to do with that when I began my study. I was like, I'm just doing a study. I'm a professor. I don't want anything to do with these communities. But what I learned was that these communities are here to stay with this topic. You're not going to get rid of them, so you might as well confront what they mean and what they're doing. And Chris Bledsoe just adored the guy, right? And I kept, me and George Zervos, George Zervos, by the way, is an Orthodox priest, and he's just this great guy. And so he became a good friend of Chris's too. So we would have Chris over to my house, and we would just say to Chris for about a year and a half, why are you affiliating with this person who you know is part of these organizations? Chris, what's going on? And he said, well, I'll tell you what, Diana, if he's a part of these organizations, then he's the nicest one I've ever met.
And when you say,
like,
Diana,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and Diana, when you say organizations, what organizations are you referencing?
I'm referencing the 3-letter organization.
It's okay. You can say it out loud. CIA.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe. I'm not going to say which ones because that would further identify that person.
Just tap once for yes and twice for no.
No, I'm not going to do that.
NSA, the NRO.
I'm not going to say those things. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. But that's okay.
Like there are.
By not answering, you're saying yes. That's all. That's cool. That's fine. Because you didn't say no. See, that's the difference. I'm good at what I do. So Tyler, though, was his interest on behalf of the organizations and these corporations, the corporation, or was it a personal interest?
He called it his hobby.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what I found fascinating about Chris was that he was attracting all of these different types of scientists who were interested in what he could tell them about the craft, about the beings, all kinds of stuff. So I shifted my method to not just looking at the experiencers, but looking at the scientists who, by the way, were incredibly well credentialed, like, the top of their game. And so I started to basically just ask them questions, and then they were interested in what I was doing. Actually, Tyler wanted to meet me, but I didn't want to meet him because, again, I'm just a normal professor. I don't really want to get involved in any trouble or anything. And so it took about a year and a half, and finally I decided, okay, I will meet Tyler. I took my friend Jeff Kreipel. He's a professor at Rice, and we were at a conference in Atlanta, and so so we met him, and I was warning Jeff about him. I said, listen, he's part of these organizations. He might, you got to be careful about these kinds of people. And so Jeff was on board. He was like, no problem, Diana. I've got your back. And then immediately Tyler disarmed Jeff. And Jeff was like inviting him to dinner at his house and doing this and that. And I'm like, does not anyone have, he was actually like Chris, completely almost enamored of Tyler. So, so Tyler had this kind of rock star quality. And I don't know if he was trained in it or if it came naturally to him. I really honestly don't know. But I started to actually work with Tyler, and we did a lot of really important, interesting work. And that's why he features so much in American Cosmic, as it is, could not have been written without him. And I owe him, for that. And I do dedicate the book to him because I've never since either met someone who knew so much about the phenomena.
We have to take a break right here. Audio was cool. I'm happy about that. I'm going to get back on track with my sequence of audio breaks, and we're going to do all of this and continue this fascinating discussion with Dr. Diana Pasulka when we come back after this short break. Her new book, American Cosmic. All of the links are at jimmychurchradio.com. AmericanCosmic.com is right there. More with Diana when we come back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Dr. Diana Pasulka, talking about her book, American Cosmic. You can go to AmericanCosmic.com. Everybody is reading it. And you've got to go find out what everybody is talking about. And the continuation of the conversation with Tyler, which I want to do now. But the success of American Cosmic, did you see this coming, Diana?
No, not at all. So I have a friend, David Metcalf, and he's a really smart. He's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. He's like a walking encyclopedia, and he and I are friends. And he's at the University of Georgia, and he does a lot of tech stuff for them. And so, I was kind of talking with him and consulting with him about a lot of the tech that I talk about in my book. And so he was reading some of the chapters, and he really liked it. And I said, Dave, I said, no one's going to read this book except for like me and you and people like us. There aren't very many of us, people who are interested in this kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, he goes, it'll have a small audience, but it'll have a really, the people will really like it. And I said, yeah, I think so. And then all of a sudden, this is my editors thought the same thing. So they made a limited number of copies at first, and then they had to keep pushing because there were pre-orders, so many pre-orders that they had to keep pushing back the date. The original date was strangely on my birthday, which was January 2nd, and they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it up, because they had to print more books. And I thought that was interesting. And I mean, the book is still selling at the same rate as it sold when it began. And I'm getting all kinds of, I'm getting more interest from scientists at these giant, these very prestigious universities. And I'm also getting people who are doing films about UFOs, like really neat films too, where UFOs are not your like typical, how there's an old-fashioned way of looking at UFOs and also beings, inhabitants and stuff. Well, now they're more looking at them as tech, which I think is probably accurate. And so it's being utilized in ways that, I also had poetry. I've had about 20 or 30 people write poems based on the book. And I think they're beautiful. I read them when they come in. I'm not able to respond to everybody. So I feel fairly overwhelmed trying to, I'm one person. I don't have a secretary anymore. And I'm trying to respond to everyone, but I can't get to everyone. And so I feel really bad that, so no, I didn't see it coming. Nor did Dave. Dave and I, we laughed about that the other day. We were like, wow, we sure didn't see this coming.
Well, and I get 3, 4, 5 books sent to me a day, right? This I purchased. I actually purchased this book and went out of my way to get it. And I wanted to. Okay, so let's get back on track here with Tyler. You guys are going to these conferences together, but he's not. He's running under the radar, right? He's not walking around telling people what he does for a living.
No, he's totally under the radar, but the conferences are actually filled with people who we keep a code of silence about what we talk about at the conferences, but we integrate what we've learned into our research.
Is Tyler going to be at Contact in the Desert?
I'm pretty certain that Tyler is not going to do anything that has to do with UFOs or anything like that. No. I mean, I'm not actually in touch with Tyler now, but I know Tyler enough by now to know that he isn't true invisible.
Tyler, I know you're listening right now. You better come to Contact in the Desert. That's all I got to say. I want to meet Tyler. Okay, so the other... Everybody
does, by the way, Jimmy.
I know.
That was the first... I got inundated with so much, can you introduce me to Tyler? Can you introduce me to Tyler? And I'm like, no, sorry, no. I'm actually not even in touch with Tyler now. So it was intense, It was an intense time to write it, that book. He was part of it. I learned so much, and probably stuff I shouldn't even have known. And then, and I don't have a clearance, so I'm not protected, I'm a civilian. And then the book was done, and the collegial relationship was over too. It was really weird.
Did you meet any of Tyler's coworkers?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now this is getting really interesting. And their interest, was it professional, or were they just hanging out with the UFO crowd?
Well, this is one thing I have to make very clear, because I don't think a lot of people understand this part. And I agree that it was very difficult for me to understand it too.
Right.
And it's this. Have you seen Fight Club?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know how nobody really talks about Fight Club? That's like the first and second rule, right?
That's right.
Okay, so this is how Tyler's organization works. Nobody talks about it, okay? Nobody, even if you use the word UFO, you might even get fired,
Interesting.
In fact, Tyler's boss doesn't even know what he does.
Well, how does a conversation happen then?
It happens with the use of code words, and it also happens with the recognition that you don't talk about it if you want to keep your job.
Now, okay, but when you guys are private and alone, you're not using code words, or are you?
No. So what happened was that it was a very strange, I almost felt like I was being initiated into something. So Tyler, through time, now you've got to understand, I've known him now for years. So Tyler, through time, started to introduce me to the code words and what they meant. And then he started to show me what programs actually had a secondary mission, right? There's like a mission that the public knows about, but there's always like another mission that's really happening. And so I was able to, because I'm quick a bit, so I pick up this kind of stuff. So I started to pick this stuff up, and I fell right into almost like a symbiotic relationship with Tyler's brain, where I knew then, the kinds of things that were going on and what he was doing, plus he was telling me stuff. So, so that's kind of how it happened, but I would never bring this up with people that he worked with, because I would not then have that access. And another thing, after the book was published, I started to get emails and correspondences and telephone calls from people who actually worked with Tyler but didn't even know it.
I'm wondering if I have. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Didn't even know it. Yeah. Didn't even know it.
And his organization, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You are suggesting here, you just said it, so I just want clarification. You are suggesting that there are programs that the public knows about, and there's programs that the public doesn't know about, and they may have a secondary agenda to the public version of the program. And so I'm assuming we're talking about research into UFOs and extraterrestrials and what they may be.
Yes.
You can't just say yes.
Okay, that is correct. What I found out, it took me, listen, I'm just your normal, I won't call myself Joe. I'm just your normal Jolene, okay? And I am a professor, so I honestly don't live in the world of Fight Club. I live in the world of transparency, where we reveal our sources, right?
Right.
And so I'm thrust into this other world where transparency is looked at as a weakness. You're weak if you're transparent. You don't show your sources. So it was kind of like really a 180 for me, and I had to learn the new language, and I had to learn the new culture, which I did. And then and I wasn't perfect at it. I made a lot of mistakes. And then when I made mistakes, I would call it chastised, There was a chastised process of you cannot say that, you cannot say that. And so I learned then it's like Pavlov's dog, what I can say, what I can't say. And so, but I did that for the research of the book. That's not how I live. Right? That's not how I conduct my life and generally my research. But in order to research this topic, I had to do that in order to learn what was really going on and what was being fabricated for the public's consumption. And so I wanted people to know that. I wanted them to know, if you want to know about UFOs, you can't just Google it up and get your normal kind of UFO show with which does this recreation of an abduction. That's because you're not going to learn anything about what's really going on. What's really going on is so secret, and so that's why I called it The Invisibles, and Tyler Durden. Tyler Durden was not even real in Fight Club. Sorry for those who haven't seen Fight Club. That was a spoiler. Still an incredible movie there. So, we're talking about this man who doesn't even exist in the sense that nobody knows what he does. His family doesn't even know what he does. They don't even want to know, by the way.
Why have you tried to reach out to him? Why would he disappear? And you guys had a relationship. You guys were friends.
Yeah, no, we were friends. It was a crash and burn bad situation where I think part of it was the social media thing. I was on social media. I think I said something that should not have said, and he met. I mean, to his credit, many times he said, "You don't know what you're doing. You don't know. You can't do that." And so then I think what happened was that he got in some trouble, and then they just, he's working for a company that you never get out of. You die as a member of that company and or that institution. And so he abides. He's a mission guy. He does the mission. That's more important than anything. It's more important than friends. It's more important than pretty much everything except for his children, really. And so so we had to sever, and it was painful, very painful.
The Twitter world is speculating on who Tyler is. Tyler is not his real name. That's a pseudonym, right?
Yeah, I mean, I named him after Tyler Durden.
That's right.
In Fight Club.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, you say in the book Tyler D. I mean, it's right there. Okay. So much to talk about, and I want to get all of this in. There's another aspect to this that is, you referred. Okay, I'm going to say this really quickly. You referred to the old version, the 1940s and 50s versions of what UFOs and flying saucers were, right? A metallic, nuts and bolts, rivets situation. And today it's a different world, and we've had a definite paradigm shift here in what UFOs may be, and certainly physics are coming into it and have become a part of it. The side of the Pentagon and the Department of Defense and suggestions from those on the inside, including Tom DeLonge, who I've interviewed on this program, and made references to a religious aspect to UFOs today and what we are seeing in the skies. And this is exactly what you're researching, right? You're a religious studies professor that is out there investigating UFOs. Is there a direct connection to these two seemingly polarized areas?
Oh, absolutely. So, okay, even in the 1940s, when you had the first Kenneth Arnold sightings, people and ministers and lots of people interpreted that as kind of end of the world scenario stuff, and so they interpreted this as, and in fact there was one very famous theologian who wrote a book that basically said the Bible is filled with UFOs. Okay. Or flying, they called them flying saucers back then. The Bible is filled with flying saucers. And so, so even with the onset of the quote unquote, some of the first sightings and Roswell and everything like that, you've got some spiritual interpretations of this. And not just that, but you have people like Chris Bledsoe, who's a Baptist, and he's a deacon of his church, and he has these experiences. He's totally confused. And his minister tells him it's a demon attack. And at first he tries to, get delivered from it. And then he realizes, this happened to me. If those were angels, they were funny-looking angels, and this is what happened. And so he's got a spiritual interpretation of it. And so a lot of people do. Some people don't. And so, so what I'm saying basically is that this is a new form of religiosity, and it corresponds with the rise of what are called the nuns, the people who call themselves spiritual but not religious, and they're young. So, if you go over 50, there's like a 30% belief in UFOs. But if you go down to kids who are like 24, you've got, 80% belief, and belief is in different ways. There are like different ways, like maybe they were of the past, or maybe they'll be in the future, or, maybe they're present. And so you've got to nuance their beliefs, but they're believing.
The change has happened with that. is it because of a shift in DNA, right, with these with the latest generations, or is it Hollywood?
Okay, so when you say it's Hollywood, that's actually a very, and I don't mean this in any very negative way, about how you're using it. Hollywood is a way to kind of obscure what Hollywood is actually doing, because Hollywood is actually working with military, and they're actually working with cognitive scientists in order to provide humans today, consumers basically, who are involved in all kinds of screen culture, whether it's their phone or the theater or their computer or whatnot. What's going into our brains is tailor-made to create the ways in which we interpret reality. I mean, that's just a fact. So if you go to, and I did a lot of research on cognitive scientists, and this is for your viewers, this is for your audience members if they're very interested in this. There's a great book by Jeffrey Sachs, and it's called Your Brain on Movies. And basically, he's talking about what happens to your brain when you're watching movies. And we go into, say, a movie that I was participating in as a consultant, which was The Conjuring. You go into The Conjuring, and you, quote unquote, it's not real. Okay, it's not real. It's based on a true event, though. So that's in the back of your mind, okay? And all these things happen, your body responds to it, and even though you're like the frontal cortex of your brain basically says, oh, it's not real, every other part of your brain believes it's real. So what happens is when you see something in the sky that's anomalous, and it's not a drone, and you have these kinds of ways of you already have interpreted it as a UFO, because that's what we've been taught. Just like people 200 years ago were taught that these were angels because they saw them in their churches, as stained glass windows, and the priests were talking about them and things like that.
The other part about this, and certainly Hollywood is there, and a lot of the research that goes in from writers and producers is pretty deep, and they get into the physics and the science of it, and it doesn't have to be a hardcore alien flick. Look at something like Transformers, right, which is disguised as a family film and toys,
exactly,
but it's an alien invasion film. But then there's the other part of it with video games, and the amount of research, the amount of scientists and physicists that are involved in the production of video games and gaming worlds and AR and AI is daunting. They have so much science that is involved with this. And this is absorbed by this generation. So they fully understand, and they feel that they understand we are not alone, and this is how they travel the stars. This is how they arrive here. This is their agenda. This is their culture. We understand their consciousness because it's all part of the game, and they're interacting with this. Well, this starts to become historical record, doesn't it?
It sure does, and it really kind of makes you wonder about what the heck is history, right? Because we start to, and, in the book, I also have a whole chapter on talking about this, inserting of galactic characters, like, especially Star Wars characters, into real life situations as like kind of everyday videos that people watch, and also iconic pictures from American history or European history. And we look back, and, my kids, they completely view the past differently than I viewed the past. When someone of my generation views the past, I used to think of it as this happened and this happened and this happened. It objectively happened. Well, I can no longer believe that, and my children don't believe that. My students don't believe that. So the past is totally being reconfigured. It's like a Wikipedia article. There was a scholar scholar of memory, who basically said, think of your memory as a Wikipedia. A Wikipedia page is constantly being edited.
I would say that is the case. And there's another part of this, and we've got plenty of time here. We'll come back after the break to continue this. But there's also the aspect of consciousness and communicating and entanglement, where we have the physics side of this, and then we have the experiencer contact side of this with somebody like Chris Bledsoe, for instance. And the science and the physics and the spirituality and consciousness are starting to merge. Are you seeing that in your research?
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually what my next book is about. I don't mean to plug it or anything like that. I'm actually just beginning it. But the research is done on it. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at soldiers and people who are, and one of them is just this amazing person who has so many psi abilities that were cultivated through his military training. And so the military, if it works, they're going to use it, and they do. And so I have a lot of primary sources of the training manuals of, people who go on the front lines, and they're training them in what's called intuition management and, identification. So they try to identify high intuition people, and then they kind of pretty much like Tyler, basically, they cultivate that person's intuition, and they also rely upon it, because that person becomes, if you have a person who anticipates what will happen in the future, do you know how powerful that is?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the next soldier, and they're augmenting that with technology.
Well, but physics says that this is impossible. But we know that the phenomenon is real. This is where we bump heads.
Well, I know lots of physicists actually who are involved in the research of the phenomena. So, I mean, and who've had experiences. So I'm not quite sure it butts heads. I just think that we're not, at least me, and but I know physicists who say, if we don't look at these things as extraterrestrials from other planets, but we look at these things as interdimensional, then, that's a better explanatory framework for a model of physics that can understand this type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that we're heading in that direction. And when I'm talking about physicists, I'm talking about guys like Brian Greene, okay,
right.
and Sean Carroll, that are out there that have an open mind to life out there in the universe. They discuss the multiverse, they discuss extra dimensions, and they discuss parallel worlds, and they study this because the numbers are leading them in that direction. But they're atheists. Right? There is nothing spiritual to these guys. And the question of consciousness, they're not going to discuss it as consciousness as we do. They say that consciousness is a chemical reaction. Right? And that's it. That's what happens in the brain. And that's where I draw the line. And I think that they are now starting to understand, and this is an important point, Diana, that maybe consciousness isn't a chemical reaction, that there is something else going out there in the cosmos. And that's where, once we start to unleash this, we'll start to meet in the middle.
I think so too, actually. Yeah, because, I mean, in the book also I use the extended mind idea by Chalmers, and I forgot his colleague. These are some of the best philosophers in the world, and they're talking about how we assume that the brain and the mind is just in our bodies, right, and that it's localized, but actually our mind interacts with our environment in such a way that we can't actually just localize our intelligence, brain, consciousness within our heads.
No, that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka. We're talking about her new book. It's called American Cosmic. I've got it. You should get it too. I'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka. We're talking about her new book, American Cosmic. You can go to AmericanCosmic.com. The links are right there at JimmyChurchRadio.com. And continuing the conversation, Diana, okay, a couple of points here. Let's get straight to it. What if the flying saucer lands on the White House lawn, the stairs come down, and Jesus walks off? Right?
Right.
And that is not... it's possible, right?
I mean, I suppose, yes. Somebody on my Facebook page today or yesterday, I wish I could remember the person's name. They said, why doesn't anybody ever say, okay, the Virgin Mary, if she exists, why doesn't she land on the White House lawn? You know, it's like we make our UFOs, we subject him this criteria that we don't subject to like our other, you know, beings and deities.
Well, the Vatican is out there looking for something with their observatories. Maybe they're looking for Jesus. And I'm not being facetious here.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. When I was at the Vatican Space Observatory, they had a very large archive of amazing stuff, by the way, stuff from Kepler, the original Kepler and stuff like that, and Copernicus, you know, people who had been banned by the church, and now here they were in prominent positions at this archive that I was in. And Brother Guy gave me the keys, and he said, he shouldn't have done that, by the way, but he said, here are the keys to the archive, you know, go at it, you know. So I had a week there to just go through everything I could, and they had a whole section of, when I say a whole section, I'm talking about, oh goodness, maybe 2,000, 3,000 books from back in the day till today. Well, yeah, till today. And the basically it was called The Search for Extraterrestrial Life. That was the name of that part of the archive. So I said, I'm going to start here.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, no kidding. I would not have imagined. Well, I guess maybe actually you would have to think that. You would have to assume that would be a part of the research. That's fascinating. Now, what about yourself personally? You go and you meet Chris Bledsoe. You're out there mingling in the UFO crowd. You're doing this research. What happened? What went through your mind when you first saw something that you couldn't explain?
I think that I was in a state of shock for a while. It took a while to wear off. And so I think that now, if I were to describe my research, you know how you can throw a frog in boiling water and it'll jump out, but if you slowly boil the frog, it'll get boiled. I think that was me. In the beginning, I felt like the frog who wanted to jump out, but found it too fascinating to jump out. So I just kind of allowed myself to get boiled in. And now when I talk about it, I'm thinking, I can't really, when I talk about this, to normal people, I sound fairly crazy. And I have to remember that because I've been in this research for so long now. And a lot of my friends are really smart, professors, that thing. We all talk about it. And so we kind of have this little group that these are the things we talk about. So if I talk to, say, I guess I really very slowly, I don't talk about it with my kids because my kids find it very weird and they don't want to know anything about it. So I respect that. But my family of origin, like my brothers and my mother, I had to very slowly get them used to what I was doing because, first of all, a lot of stuff happened to them and they had to come to terms with it. This happened to my parents did see this orb and, it took them a while to figure it out that, and so now when I talk to normal people, I just have to be really careful about what I say.
And what did you see first?
I think the first thing that shocked me was that what I'd been studying my whole life was continuing on, but just in a different interpretive framework. And that's what shocked me the most. I'd seen so many historical cases of it, and now here I was confronted with the cases that were actually happening before my eyes. And people I believed, like legitimate, credible witnesses. So that was the first shock, was that this was going on still. The second shock was meeting scientists who were at some of the best universities associated with some of the best, amazing scientists who had patents and, sold their companies, biotech companies on the NASDAQ and stuff like that. I had to account for how they did this. And they were telling me they did this through the process of downloading or, taking alleged, basically artifacts, crashed UFO parts is basically what they called them. Now, I'm not saying I believe that's what they are or know that's what they are, but that's what they told me they were. And they're using their top-notch microscopes and, and instruments to analyze these parts. And it's an ongoing process. So I think that also was shocking. And I continue to be shocked because in the last month, I've been approached by a person who is called a space psychologist, and this person works at one of these really prestigious universities. And if you look at this person's website, you would have no idea that they're reaching out to me to, quote unquote, try to contact sentient space bodies. That's their word.
When the moment that you see something that you can't explain up in the sky, and you realize at that moment that everything that you have been told is wrong, take me through that moment, and what was it that you saw?
Are you referring to which part are you referring to?
Well, I'm assuming that when you're with Chris Bledsoe at his property, you saw something that was pretty life-changing.
Oh, okay. So with Chris, just knowing Chris was life-changing. That was what was interesting. So Chris is an interesting case that I have not written about because there are so many layers to it. And I actually never did. I mean, I know that like John Alexander saw, people see stuff all the time when they go to Chris's. I've been to Chris's many times. I brought students to Chris's and things like that, but I've never seen anything out of Chris's. I believe Chris. Now, Chris is, his family constantly see things, but I've not seen anything.
Have you seen something that would be described as a UFO?
Well, I mean, when I go to the desert with Tyler and James, I see parts that they say are from a UFO that crashed in the late 40s. So I do see those things. I did see with my husband, I did see a unexplained, it wasn't a drone, it was far away, and it was making strange patterns. And this was in, I know the date because my family's Catholic and we practice. So we were, that day was the Assumption of the Virgin Mary. It was August 15th. And so I went to Mass that day, and I actually asked for help from God. And I said, will you help me? Because I was actually up, that was when I was up for chair. And it's usually a very, academia is very political. So that day was special. So I went to the university, a lot of very dramatic things happened, and I was unanimously elected as chair, which rarely happens. So my husband came to pick me up, and he wanted to take me out to dinner. And so we went out to dinner, and we then, we lived near the ocean, so we went to a dock, and we sat, and we looked out at the ocean. And I heard an owl, and I thought, that's odd. I've never really heard an owl this early around, it was August 15th, but it wasn't really that hot that day either, and it was really beautiful, and things started to become pretty surreal for me. Like, they started to slow down, and I noticed the beauty of everything, and then I started to see something up in the sky that was sparkling and kind of like just up there. It wasn't moving in any direction. And so I thought, and, it was the evening, but it wasn't dark. And I didn't want to tell my husband because my husband's a scoffer. And although he's one of the people that said that my stuff seemed like Steven Spielberg, movies. But even though that, he's a math guy. He's a complete rationalist and a scoffer also. So he scoffs at stuff like this. So I wasn't going to tell him that I was looking at some weird thing in the sky, but it wouldn't go away. And so finally, I pushed him and I said, "What is that?" And he looked over at it. And at first I thought he was going to say, scoff at me, but he didn't. He looked at it and he said, "Well, that's really interesting." So we sat there and we stared at it for about 5 minutes, and it got further and further away. Then it just poof, disappeared. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and I said, "Well, I think that the only thing we can conclude there was that was pretty unidentified." And he goes, "Yeah." And you could tell that it was really disconcerting to him. So the next day, I called the director of MUFON here in North Carolina, and I said, "I saw something last night." Her name is Agreda, and she said, "Diana," she said, "you were one of the first people to see there was a flap of UFOs that are happening all down the coast of North Carolina." And she called, because whenever that happens, she calls the military. There's a military base here. And she says, "Are you doing maneuvers or what are you doing?" And they said, no, we're not doing anything, And it was in the paper. And then my friend George Dervo sent me he sent me the paper and said, "Look, Diana," he's like, he didn't know that I had that experience either. So I have multiple sources now for what happened. And strangely enough, months later, I saw Lakita at a conference, and I brought it up again, and she looked at me kind of strangely, and she said, "Oh, no, the military were actually doing maneuvers." And I was like, "Oh." Okay.
Yeah,
that's not what she told me in the beginning.
Right. That kind of killed that. I want to circle back. You mentioned that you went to the desert with Tyler and was it John or James?
It's James.
You went to the desert and you saw what they said were pieces of a crashed craft. What I want to understand what you're suggesting here, that this was still in the ground. Did they bring this debris with them, or you went out there and they showed you debris in the desert?
No, what happened was this. I'll set it up. So basically, I had been, corresponding with Tyler, and Tyler could tell that I wasn't necessarily a believer. And he said, "I think that you need to see actual physical evidence." And I said, "I'm open to that." And he said, "So you need to come to this place in the desert. It's not Roswell, but it's a place where a crash happened in 47. And I said, "Well, I'm interested in doing that." And I said, "Can I take a friend?" And he said, "No." And he goes, "And you have to be blindfolded because that's basically the condition of going, and I have to get approval." And I said, "I'm not going to go out there with you blindfolded." It just sounded too weird to me. So he said, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to ask one of my friends. So again, I go to my friend Jeff Kreipel. He's a good friend of mine. And I said, "Jeff, will you come to the desert with me with Tyler, who we met?" And I said, "And you have to be blindfolded and go to this place, and we're going to see crashed UFO debris." And he said, "Diana, no." He said, "That's way too out of my comfort zone." And I said, "Okay." And then I was disappointed because I thought, if he really wants to know about UFOs, why doesn't he just do this with me, right? Because, I really wanted to do it, but I didn't want to endanger myself in any way. So then I realized that I met James. James was is a incredible scientist at one of the top 5 universities, and he's completely obsessed with learning about UFOs. And so I said to Tyler, I want to ask my friend James. And Tyler said, "The deal is just you." And I said, "Okay, but here's James." And I gave him James's website, and I knew that Tyler would say yes because James was extraordinary. Like, if Tyler wanted to know what these parts consisted of, James was the guy to do it. And sure enough, within 2 days, Tyler wrote back and said yes. And James was ecstatic to go. So we all show up from different places to New Mexico Airport, right, in Albuquerque. And we go to the place we're going to stay. And it already felt super eerie. I mean, there was this giant rainbow in the sky, and it was really bizarre. No one was out there. And so we got to this place where we were going to stay, and the next day we put on the blindfolds that Tyler tells us to put on, and we go, and we're in this car, and I could tell that it's about 45 minutes in the car, and it's kind of disconcerting to tell you the truth. And the car's rumbling over a bunch of rocks and things like that. So we get out there, we have to wear special gear because it's going to be you could get really badly sunburned, but it's also freezing. So we're wearing jackets, and there's rattlesnakes out there. So we've got to wear these like tall boots and stuff. So we look pretty ridiculous. So we're out there, and Tyler has configured, what are these things? They're like metal detectors. He's got these special metal detectors that are configured to find these parts. And so we spend all day out there looking for parts. And I mean, okay, so we found 2 different parts. One of the parts that we found, you can actually look for it. I think Chuck Wade has some on his YouTube channel. And it looks like kind of metallic frog skin, basically. And so James found some of that, and he reached down into some rocks to pull it out. I mean, that wasn't planted there. So we found some stuff. One of the things we found just lying on the ground, and James and I, we're not born yesterday, as much as it seems we were. And so we go, we confer when Tyler's out of our earshot. We're like, did he plant this stuff here? Or, is this stuff all misinformation for us? Or what is this stuff? So we get the stuff, and then the next day we go back to Albuquerque, and we're going to fly back. And the question is, who's going to bring this stuff? Well, heck, I'm not going to bring it. I don't have any laboratories or equipment. So James decides he's going to bring it through the airport security. And Tyler, by the way, never goes through security. Like, never. He's got a special card. He just shows it, and he just gets in. He just bypasses it all. And so he said to us, James is going to be stopped by the airport security, but they're not going to know what it is. And what's going to happen is it's going to basically associate James with the part at a higher level. And so, but the people here won't know, and they won't detain him for too long. They're just going to search his stuff. They won't understand what it is. And sure enough, that happened. So James is detained, and they look through all of his stuff. Takes a long time. So I get through security. I'm sitting with Tyler. Tyler's cool as a cucumber, and I'm really nervous for James. And James gets out, and he's like, I need a drink. So then he takes it back, and it's ongoing analysis of it.
The 45 minutes outside of Albuquerque, Roswell, that's a 2.5 hour drive. You would be driving forever. You would know the difference. 45 minutes outside of Albuquerque is not, and you also said that Tyler said that this was in 1947. Corona, Aztec, Roswell, that's 2.5 hours. East and south. We went 2.5 hours outside of Albuquerque, and we stayed at a bed and breakfast, and then we went 45 minutes to the place. Oh, that's different.
All in all, it was like 3 hours from Albuquerque.
Oh, could have been down near Roswell then. Okay. Interesting. How did Tyler know, and why was the location secret? I mean, is this a crash that is not part of UFO history?
I think actually it is part of UFO history. Some people do know about it, and it is apparently, this is what was told to me by Tyler and several other people that don't know Tyler. There were between 6 and 8 crashes in 47 at different places in New Mexico. And James interpreted it as like donations to us, kind of like a Prometheus narrative where we're given these donations to help us progress as a species, or kind of like a Trojan horse where they're giving this to us and it's our demise or something. I don't know. So he's got two different ways of thinking about it. But in terms of where it was at, I don't know where it was at. I know that it's on actually it's, I can't say where. I just I don't know where. So I was blindfolded, and that was.
Do you have any of the debris?
No. I don't want any of the debris because first off, if it's really what it is, people are going to search me out and get the debris from me, and I don't want that. So the debris is with people who are highly secured. Like they've secured the debris. It's not at their house, So, no, I didn't want, and I told them that at the beginning. I said, I'm a professor of religion. I'm not weighing in on the truth or the falsity of what you believe, but I don't want this stuff. That was made super clear.
Is this some of the debris that Hal Puthoff is calling metamaterial that they're researching with the Army?
It could very well be. I'm not sure. I do know that that Christopher Mellon was super interested in this particular debris that was found, and we didn't give it to him.
I want to know where this location is, and you don't have any idea. And Tyler is out of the picture.
Yeah, Tyler's been a part of that place for about 20 years. He's been researching that place for 20 years.
Very interesting. We need to take a break right here, and we're going to go into overtime. You ready for some overtime?
Yes.
Okay. Our guest tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka. We are talking about her new book. It is called American Cosmic. Again, I'll hold up the cover. There it is. AmericanCosmic.com is the website. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can't follow Diana, though. I don't think she's on Twitter. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the FadeToBlack blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Dr. Diana Pasulka, talking about her book, American Cosmic. And we're heading into overtime, and I want to specifically get into a couple of things. And the first one, and Diana, I want to thank you for this conversation tonight. It's been amazing and enlightening.
Thank you.
So I want to actually conclude about this debris, and you refer in the book to it as the artifact. And so you guys go out. I thought it was closer to Albuquerque. It sounds like it's closer to Roswell, Aztec, New Mexico, in that area, which is fine. But anyway, so you guys go out, metal detectors, you suit up, you go out, you're blindfolded, you're taken out to this location. You guys actually find debris. The debris gets taken into research circles and analyzed. So I want to stay right here for a second. What were the results of the laboratory analysis?
Okay, so recall, I'm not a scientist, so I can't specifically say, what the components are and the ratios of the isotopes and things like that. But I can say that the upshot of it was that 3 scientists who, publish in the best publications that scientists publish in, basically said, this is it can't even be made we just can't make this stuff. This is stuff that humans can't make, especially in 1947. And it's anomalous. I mean, it even looks like it can't even be made in this universe. So it's truly a conundrum to them. They're not suggesting that it is extraterrestrial from another, they just don't know, but they're pursuing the knowledge of it. I mean, scientists a lot of times just go on, they don't know, and that is what motivates them.
When you, how much of it did you hold?
A lot of it.
Okay. What was describe that to, was it heavy? Was it light? How big were these pieces? What was the biggest piece? I ran out of air.
Oh, yeah. So the biggest piece was about, 5 by 5 inches. And,
really?
I mean, there were, So, it was pretty substantial, and I think what they did was they kind of sectioned off little pieces for different scientists to analyze, who have different types of expertise, like material scientists and, quantum scientists and things like that. And, to tell you the truth, it seemed, this is my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with anything I could prove, it was actually said to me by Whitley Strieber, strangely enough, who had no idea that I was talking to Tyler, and we were at one of these little conferences, and we were talking about the parts, and Whitley Strieber came up to us, and he had no clue that we were actually talking about those, and he said, those parts you were studying? And we kind of looked at him like, whoa, how did he know that? He said, they're also studying you. And I thought that was a fascinating assessment, because it seems that the people that were doing the studying of the parts were really attached to them in a weird way. I mean, it was like, and I also have that part in my book where I talk about Tyler's carrying some of the parts around with him in his backpack, and he goes and he visits a friend, and then his friend has no clue that there's anything in his backpack other than just stuff, right? And so his friend says, I had such a weird dream about your backpack. I dreamt that it was universes all the way down. Like, what a weird thing to tell somebody, you know?
And when you say a lot of debris, are we talking about dozens of pieces?
We're talking probably about. Oh yeah, we did. When we were there, when we got the debris, there was a protocol. So we had to take pictures of it. We had to write in a database, like he was carrying around a special iPad to put the stuff in, you know, the data and stuff, and labeled it and put it in a special bag. So I would say that we had about 7 pieces.
And it sounds like this debris, and obviously you have your blindfolds are off, that this debris is all over the place, like you're tripping over it.
No. It took us all day to find it. No, it was hard to find. Because remember, I'm there, and the first thing I notice when I take off my blindfold is that it's like acres and acres of rubble. And I look down at it as rusty rubble that look literally like tin cans that have been disintegrated, and that's what they were. They were cans. And so I asked Tyler, I said, what's this stuff? And he said, oh, well, the government didn't want anybody with metal detectors coming in here or finding this stuff, so they just basically, out in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico, put all these cans out there, like everywhere. And over time, they disintegrated and kind of like, you know, they look like rusty rubble stuff.
Right. And when you were, when you're out there, when you looked around, could you see any structures, any houses, anything, or were you like in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, which, by the way, I've been there, and it's easy to be in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it was literally in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't see anything.
Right. And so you're in the middle of nowhere, and you're finding stuff where no human has probably ever set foot before, right? I mean, it's remote.
Yeah, except for the fact that there were all these cans there.
Yeah,
which
why
is
would
weird.
cans? Yeah.
And by the way, my editor asked me to take that part out of the book. She said, I don't understand why there would be cans there in the middle of nowhere, Diana. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but that's like data. That's part of it's true. I saw it. I'm not making it up. And she said, but it just doesn't make sense. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Well, it doesn't make sense if you don't believe the narrative. Right? If you don't believe in UFOs or anything like that and the government involvement with them, then of course it doesn't make sense. But I'm not taking it out.
So the piece that you referred to in the book as the artifact, was that the biggest chunk, or was there a reason why you call it artifact?
I call it artifact because in religions, traditionally, there are sacred objects that, you know, like the Shroud of Turin or the tilma of the Virgin of Guadalupe. There are artifacts in Buddhism as well. And these are sacred artifacts that people associate with power. They have powers and stuff. So that's why I refer to it as the artifact.
Okay. Was this the 5x5 piece?
You know, you're getting pretty technical here, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, see, this is because
why.
Well, I'm fascinated with this, Diana. And so, if you're holding a 5x5 piece of metal, how thick was it? Was it paper thin, or was there thickness to it?
There was a thickness to one of the smaller pieces, and it was about. Oh gosh, it was about 2 inches by, 2 inches long and about 1.5 inches wide. And it was very complex. It was a complex piece. And then these other pieces, like I said, they just looked like metallic frog skin. I mean, they were about the thickness, a little bit thicker than tinfoil. and they were really old. They looked really old, but they looked at some point like they had been super metallic. And they did look like frog skin, like they had perforations in them and things like that.
Right, but they weren't rusted.
No, they weren't rusted. They were, no. They just looked really old, but they weren't rusted, and they didn't come apart. You know, you'd think you'd grab something like that and pull it out from a bunch of rocks, like James did, and it would, like, tear, but they did not tear.
This is fascinating. And the other part of this, did anybody with the analysis, I know that they're saying that they can't identify it, but was it some kind of alloy? Were they able to identify different types of metallic parts to this?
I think it was... there was one of the scientists said this is a metamaterial type thing, and but then another scientist said no, it's even weirder than that, and they did turn it into a very, very well-known material scientist here in the United States who basically took a look at it, did analysis of it, basically knew that it was something that, it's kind of like what happened to me when out of the blue, you know, Tyler wants to meet me and I don't want anything to do with people like, you know, associated with those organizations. Well, this person who studied it had the same reaction, more violent though. Took a picture of it, put it up on their wall, and basically said, I don't want anything to do with this. I just want to know that it exists. Don't contact me again.
But this was not TTSA, and this was not Hal Puthoff.
No, these are independent, think about it. You've got Tyler. He's got connections. You've got James. Again, they have connections all over the world of the best scientists in the world. And a lot of the relationships of university professors is one of, you help me here and I'll help you here. So they basically say, can you analyze this? And they're like, yeah, you know, let's send it over or come over, whatever. So they go over and they do the analysis and they're like, excuse the expression, but WTF, you know, what is this? And they a lot of them don't want to know anymore because they see it as so weird that they don't want to be on anybody's radar.
And why do you think that is? I mean, if you are bringing somebody, I would think, right, something that they've never seen before, the possibility to look into and analyze something that not only may not be of this earth, but let's say it's terrestrial. But to analyze something like that, why would they be so reticent to even look at it or touch it or be contacted again?
I call that the John Mack effect. And look what just happened to me on Twitter. So I think that, you know, think about it. Right. Academics live by their reputations. You know, that's our credential right there. If our reputation if my reputation gets completely, I've published in like, I don't want to like sound like an egomaniac, but I published in the best journals. I published in the best, presses. All of a sudden, to ruin my career would be like to get on my Twitter account and do this and that and make me sound like a crazy maniac. And, I think that a lot of professors are afraid of that because Harvard University tried to do that with John Mack, the place where he works. So it's still, when I first got into this, I was like, I'm untouchable, this kind of thing because of what I've done. Well, I'm not. And I think that people need to be aware of that. And I think that this person was and didn't want anything to do with it because of that. And
I want to wrap up tonight with what happened to Tyler in Rome. And before we get there, how old, when you say backpack and we're talking about Tyler, well, you call him Tyler, so I'm picturing somebody. How old was Tyler?
Tyler, Jamie, are you still there?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't want to actually give away his age or anything, but he's been working for the space program for about 42, 44 years or something.
Okay.
So But he carries around a backpack. He's super cool. Like whatever Tyler can wear is going to look good on him. So.
Okay, so Tyler would be in his mid-60s.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, but he's hip and cool. He's kind of like me. Okay, so
yeah.
Tyler's somebody who has been there. He's mature, but he goes to Rome and has an awakening, an enlightenment. Take us through that. What happened?
Well, part of it has to do with this nun that we're looking. We're looking at her bilocation records.
You're talking about Mary of Agreda.
Yeah, Maria of Agreda. So she's a Spanish nun, and if you actually go to the Southwest, you'll see statues of her and churches in her name and things like that. So she's part of American history, believe it or not. So she writes, first of all, she travels with angels, and they show her like stuff like the spinning earth and things like that. And she writes a cosmography about what she sees from space. And so when I say she bilocates, I don't know if people know what that means. It's a kind of a Catholic term, but she stays in her body stays in her cell in Spain, and then another body goes, and it looks physical, it goes to the Southwest, in those areas of New Mexico and Arizona. And basically so what happens then to me and Tyler is that we're at the Vatican Observatory, and it hits me, did Maria go to this place that I went to? Because, she went to New Mexico. And so I looked up at Tyler and I said, I just asked him that question. And the look on his face, just changed. And I could tell that he didn't want me to make that connection. But once we made that connection, and I made the connection, we started to do, longitude, latitude analyses of that area, and all kinds of, we did all kinds of analyses, the materials in the earth and things like that. And so what happened to him then was a series of, he's a very wealthy guy. I've said this before on I've gotten flack for saying this, but it's absolutely true. He would take his phone and call up a helicopter or call up a jet if he needed to go somewhere, and if he didn't want to deal with traffic. I'm not joking. My own daughter saw this, and she wanted to go on the helicopter, and I said, no, we don't do that kind of stuff. And so he's used to this type of lifestyle. So we go to Rome, where we are meeting all these people that are dealing with, people who are dying, and they're giving them last rites and things like that. And we're also dealing with, feeding the poor. I mean, we're dealing with people who are giving their lives over to a cause, and they're not into material things or anything like that. And I think that Tyler was shocked. And, I'm used to it because I grew up with Catholics, and not all Catholics are like that, but the ones that are religious are a lot. And so, at least the nuns and sisters are. And so he was really impacted by this. And then we went to this church, Santa Sabina, and strangely enough, this is a weird church, by the way. It has some really bizarre levitation, even some UFO stuff on its door. So I was outside looking at the door and taking pictures of it. And, this is a really old church from, I think, the 2nd to maybe 4th century. It was really old. And so Tyler is having some kind of experience in the church. And so I go in the church and I see him, and he's on his knees, actually, and he's in front of... He has no idea about Catholicism, by the way. He doesn't know what the Eucharist is, or, the little wafer that people eat. It's the body of Christ for Catholics. And so it's being displayed, and that means that the presence of Christ is there for Catholics. They believe in that. And he would not have known that. But yet he was sitting there, tears coming down his face. There was beautiful music playing. And I looked at him, and I could tell that he was having an experience. And so there was a wedding that was going to happen there. So I tried to kind of get him out of his experience. I said, come on, we have to go. And so after that, he slowly and then he met Brother Guy, and Brother Guy has a really cool mission of combining space and religion. And so Tyler was absolutely converted through that. And he believed that the beings that he was in contact with or that he studied were close to being the kind of like the ones that Sister Maria would talk about. So they call, Sister Maria called them angels, but Tyler thinks of them as UFOs.
And how did this affect Tyler?
I believe so I'm not in contact with Tyler, but I do get news about him every once in a while. He's still he started to do incredibly good works after that. He worked with the Vatican on certain things that they needed him to work on. He became great friends with a priest there, and he started to give a lot of money to causes and stuff like that. I mean, he just became a completely different person, and more humble, and also less materialistic.
And what happened between you and Tyler in the end?
In the end, you mean when we had to sever friendship or whatever?
Yep.
Okay. And it's not like we severed friendship. We'll always be friends, but we had to sever our collegial relationship because what happened was my book came out. And then I think what happened was the place he worked realized that there were a lot of things in the book that corresponded to what they were doing, and I believe that they said it's too dangerous right now just to be associated, so just disassociate. And it was painful, but Tyler's a mission-oriented guy. I totally respect his mission, and so I understood it, but it was painful for both of us because we had developed such an amazingly productive relationship. I mean, we would give talks, and billionaires would want to fund our trips and stuff like that. I mean, it was really productive, and we were making a lot of progress. But, so politics was involved. So, yeah. And like I said, I don't want to get him in trouble. I totally respect him. An amazing person, totally legitimate work, totally legitimate mission. He's all for, totally patriotic and everything. I mean, so, yeah, I have only respect for him.
Now, here we are in 2020. Your book is out. There are things happening, not only with the obvious stuff like TTSA and their marketing efforts, where they're trying to get this word out and somehow make a profit from this as well. And so they're motivated to keep this message out there, whether it's with Fox or the New York Times or History Channel. But it's great. There's that part of it. And then we have what's going on with the Department of Defense and the Pentagon. And then we have situations like with Chris Bledsoe, where this is moving forward and it's getting out there. Is 2020 going to be the year where this blows wide open?
I think it's going to be the beginning of it blowing wide open. And I think there is going to be a lot of controversy around the different ways that the story is told. You've got people like Chris Bledsoe who's talking about direct contact, right, with these beings. And then you have government agencies that say, we have these parts and we're studying them. These are two different things. And then you have these programs that I talked about that are so secret, nobody even knows what they're doing. And those are the ones, to me, that are the most interesting in making what I think is the most progress. But I also think that the movement of normal people like Chris having contact with things and, normal people who don't want to listen, they don't want to be that person that sees a UFO. I think that, all of these are in tension, and we're going to see that tension rise and rise. And I'm really interested to see how it all unfolds.
When you reference these programs that are in play, are you suggesting that you have direct knowledge? Have you seen paperwork? You know that these programs are in play?
I do know that these programs are in play. I've heard, I've heard conferences that they by the way, there's no paperwork, so sorry about that, but they have this thing called pencils up or pens up, where they don't write anything down. And a lot of times, like, one of the programs had been named, but it had been named after something in my book, but they didn't know it was in my book until my book got published, and then they changed the program name to numbers. So that's kind of funny. So yeah, I mean, right now, I have some information about the programs only because some of the people, unbeknownst to themselves, reached out to me not knowing that they worked with Tyler. And like I said, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just so weird. Like, the Fight Club is so in place that they work side by side, and they don't even know what each other is doing. You know?
Sure.
So,
Compartmentalized.
Yeah. And so, but someone like me, unfortunately, you know, because people tell me things, I now know certain things, and right now I'm at the point where I don't really want to know anything. Like, when someone now contacts me from one of these places, I sigh and I go, oh no, what am I going to learn now, you know, that I'm not supposed to know?
And are the programs research into the subject, or is it the other way around, that they are in contact? And you know, what are these programs research, or is it the other way around, where they are not researching, they have information?
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that it's a mutual thing. They see these things. They're I wouldn't say they're in contact, because they don't know what these things are about or their motivations or anything like that. But they know they exist, and they're doing research on them, and they're trying to change the ways in which our technology can interact with these things, which lends a lot of credibility to this idea that these things are techno.
Yeah, that's the issue. You know, and I know that it is compartmentalized, and I wanted to comment on something that you said. I have been sent a lot of things. I've been told a lot of things, and I ignore it all. And the reason why, and you had just said the same thing. It's just like I don't want to know, and I'm kind of I evolved into that position on my own. I have seen things I can't explain. I'm comfortable with that. I know that we're being visited. I'm comfortable with that. And I am on this journey of trying to figure it out on my own. I am not going to get sucked into information coming from people that are in the know, because they only have a small piece of it. I probably know more than they do. Right.
That's absolutely true.
Yes,
I agree with you, because you know so many of the people that you can piece it together, and they don't even know what each other knows.
Yep. And I just won't go. I just won't get led down. You know, I just won't do it. And, and that's a good place to be, and especially for somebody like you too, as well. Well, what a great conversation tonight, and I can't wait to do it again. I'm looking at some of the comments here on Twitter. The show's almost over. I hope Jimmy, Diana are hitting their stride. I hope she's on again, and we will do that. I promise everybody. But what a great conversation, and congratulations on the success of the book, American Cosmic. And you're not really doing social media anymore, but if somebody wants to reach out to you, can they do it through your website, AmericanCosmic.com?
I would suggest that they use my my university account. That right now, because of my computer being completely armored, is probably the best way to reach out to me. And I'll if I don't, I get a lot of emails a day about it, and I promise I'll email you back. But you have to remind me if I don't do it right away.
Thank you so much, Diana. What a great conversation. Be safe out there.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. It was fun.
It was awesome, and this is a great community, and they've welcomed you, and that is the best part about it all, is the UFO community is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Diana.
Okay, take care.
Have a great night. Diana Pasulka. The book is American Cosmic. The website is AmericanCosmic.com. Fade to Black's executive producers Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Lost my screen again. I'm going by memory. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Oh, music is Doug Aldridge. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Syndication is KGRA The Planet, and this broadcast owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.